Hello folks, how's it going? Hope everybody's keeping well. It's been a while since I made any videos, but here we go again. It's early December, perfect time of the year. You don't want to be outside in weather like this here. It's horrible outside at the minute, so best just stay in, get a few things made, Christmas cakes, maybe just starting to get to the time where you sort of, you're running out of time basically. But the likes of mince pies, which we're going to do today, very, very simple to make. Anybody could make them, it's just a matter of throwing everything together, actually. So, mince pies traditionally was made with bits of meat and loads of spices and sugars and all, but over the years it's just, they've taken the meat out, maybe for obvious reasons. But what we're going to do, we're going to make it from scratch, and we're going to make the pastry from scratch. So it's foolproof, anybody could do it. So what I'm going to do, just going to give the hands a quick wash in the fridge. Right, so what we got here is just all the dried fruit. So like it's nearly equal quantities of 175 grams of all the fruit. So there's currants, there's dried cranberries, you could use apricots, you could use dates. So we've got sultanas, raisins, currants, cranberries, 175 grams of each. And then we've got 100 grams of mixed peel. This is sort of orange and lemon zest, sort of almost candied, so it's quite sweet. But there is a wee bit of tartness in it. Soft brown sort of Muscovado sugar. It's just set, so that's that in there. That was 225 grams. Flaked almonds, but because they're quite, you want them smaller than that, so we're just going to put them in the bag and break them up a wee bit. And just hopefully this bag doesn't break. So the process of this is we're going to get everything made, all mixed together. And then we're going to put it in a tray, cook it in the oven for 2.5 hours at 100 degrees, just very, very low, and everything comes together. And then what you can do is just put it in jars, preserve in jars, just sterilized, and this will keep for 6 months, but it'll be eaten before then. So that's it. You don't want them into a powder, but just break them down. So that's that. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to zest an orange into it. I'm using a sort of medium zester here. You don't want the big shreds. You just want the fine zest where you get the oil that's released from the orange. So the zest of one orange and one lemon. And because everything in here is sweet, this sort of gives it a wee bit of tartness. So that's that. And then we're going to just put probably half, this is quite a big cooking apple. So we're just going to put half a diced cooking apple in it. Some people leave the skins on it. I just take it off, sort of. So we're just going to dice this up nice and small. Any brown bits on the cooking apple, you can just cut them off. But listen here, it's all going to be mixed together. It's all going to go a dark colour, nice and sort of sticky brown colour. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. So just a nice dice. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to break down, but some bits will stay whole. So this is just half a cooking apple. So that's all chopped. We're just going to mix that in with it. And then just the spices. So we've got mixed spice here, I'll just take that off. So just going to go in a teaspoon of each. Some cinnamon, which is Christmas written all over it. I'm not a massive lover of spice, so I'm just going to go sort of half a teaspoon. And then just some ground nutmeg. You could use a grated fresh nutmeg, sort of would be ideal. I'm just going to go half a teaspoon here again. But a teaspoon of each roughly is about a good guide. And then traditionally, as I said, because it was made with meat in the old days, and that sort of phased out They still use suet, which is like made from beef fat or pork fat, but we're going to do a vegetarian. So we're just using unsalted butter. I say put it in the freezer, and it's cold and it just grates like cheese. And I hope that isn't cheese actually, because that wouldn't be good. Is just put the juice of the lemon and the orange in there. The lemon just takes that wee bit of sweetness away. And try and not get any pips in there. But I say 10 minutes I'll have this ready, and then we'll cook it in the oven. So that's it. That's your mix ready for your mince pies. What we're going to do, best way to do this, folks, and apologies, is with your hands. Just get in there. And you can smell it already. I mean, you can smell the cinnamon in there now, the nutmeg. It is, as they say, starting to feel a lot like Christmas. Sorry for the puns. Just break up any sort of lumps of sugar there. But when you make this, you won't buy it again. I tell you won't buy it from the shops again. It is worth it, but it's not too much work. So that's everything mixed together. What we're going to do now is just put it in an oven-proof dish. And I say, obviously, if anybody's got a nut allergy or anything like that, just leave the nuts out, but you can't really have it without the nuts, in my opinion. So that's how easy that is. So what we're going to do is just cover this with tin foil. I said the oven is set for 100 degrees and it'll take 2 to 2.5 hours. But you just want to sort of all these flavours to come together. Nice and tight, so all this, everything stays in there, sort of steams itself. So that's it. That's going to go into the oven now. I'll say 2.5 hours, 100 degrees. And maybe after half an hour we'll give it a wee mix. And I say when it comes out we'll put the brandy into it. So that's stage one done. What we're going to do now is just make the pastry. And I say this pastry will make quite a bit, but what we're going to do with the mince pies, we're going to actually mix some with filo pastry as well, which works well. Right, so what we do, we've got 250 grams of unsalted butter, 180 grams of caster sugar. And you're going to just have to bear with us with the noise here because it's sort of might be a wee bit noisy. So we might turn this on. We're going to cream this for sort of 4 or 5 minutes. Okay folks, so this has been creaming for about 5 minutes if you want to just look in there. It's nice and soft. It's you don't want it white because the more you cream it, the more, the paler it gets. So just always scoop down the sides. It's important, or you just get sort of big lumps of butter. So what you do is just turn it on very, very low. Just add a couple of spoonfuls of the flour and 1 egg. Try not to get any shell into it. So just let that sort of start to come together, and then another couple of spoonfuls of the plain flour, and a second egg. So 3 or 4 spoonfuls of the flour. Going to add a first egg yolk now. So these look quite small, so you probably will take them all. So I think we're going to go with the second yolk. I'm actually just going to go with half of it to begin with. the rest of the flour. And I'm going to go with the other half of the egg yolk. So that was 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. And you can see it's sort of all coming together now. And that's it. Don't overwork it. You don't want to sort of leave it on there for 10 minutes sort of with everything in it, because it'll just, all the oils will come out of the butter and it won't be the same. It won't be good pastry. So I can tell now this is sort of, it's going to be a good consistency. And the thing about pastry, you want pastry that's easy to roll. You don't want it cracking, you don't want it too dry, you don't want it too wet that you can't pick it up. So I can tell, I'm just going to put a wee bit of flour in my hands on the board. This comes out in one clean bowl from the bowl, and you can see that's virtually clean. So you can tell it's going to be, so what you do now, just give it a couple of kneads. You don't overwork the dough because the oils will start to come out of it. Just roll it into a cylinder shape, and you can tell a good pastry when it's nice and smooth. You know, it's not all cracked and just a wee bit more flour. It's not all cracked and dry. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to wrap this in cling film, nice and tight in cling film. And what you could do, you could freeze that. You could have that ready. That's a very versatile pastry. That'll make lemon tarts, apple tarts, chocolate, basically any tart that needs sweet pastry. So we're going to put this in the fridge for at least an hour, so it sort of settles and comes together again. And then we'll bring it out sort of 10-15 minutes before we need it. So we'll make the mince pies with this, but we'll also do some filo pastry mince pies. Okay folks, the mincemeat mixture has had about 2.25 hours in the oven. I've mixed it 2 or 3 times. Again, a low oven. You don't want it to sort of overheat and it'll caramelize. But the first time I opened it, the smell is actually, it's fantastic. And if you look at that there, I mean, that'll make easily 24 mince pies, easily. That's still nice and warm. I'm just going to give it a taste. The first smell I get from that, just when I opened it, was the orange. Maybe everybody is different. Some people get the cinnamon, some will get the nutmeg, but the orange was the first thing that hit me. That's it. The amount of brandy you put in is optional. You don't even have to put it in, but just put a good slug of brandy in. And what we're going to do now, we're just going to give it another wee mix. And I've got a sterilised Kilner jar here. I've just poured boiling water over it and left the boiling water and then poured it out. But with the heat, now the brandy is just, it's filling the room. You can smell it. It's lovely. Really, really nice. So you can make this 6 months in advance. That's it there. And I say the fruit, you've got the basic fruits, you've got your currants, your sultanas and your raisins. I have cranberries in there. If you don't want cranberries, you can use apricots. If you don't want apricots, you can use dates or figs, dried fruit. Basically any dried fruit you want, just replace it, you know, leave out the cranberries, add whatever you want. But that's it. That's how easy it is to make, and put it in smaller jars, give it as presents. It is worth it. So I'm just going to fill up this jar here, let it go cold, and I say we're going to make the mince pies when this is cold. We'll do 2 different ones. We'll do just the pastry that I made earlier, and we'll do a filo one. But it actually gives you a bit of pleasure actually thinking you've actually made this. I say this will make easily 24 mince pies, and you can freeze them, you know, they'll last a while in the fridge. I'm probably spilling more than I'm getting in. Oh, I've made a total mess here. But important, if you're making this well in advance, have your sterilised jar ready. Clean the edges, you know, because that's sort of where any bacteria will form. If you're, I say, going to store this for a long time, pour a thing of boiling water over that now, just straight from the kettle. It'll brush away, you know, it'll take away any sort of wee bits that have fallen down in the sides. So that's it, folks. If you were to hand that to anybody with a label on it or a wee ribbon on it, perfect Christmas present. So we'll let that go cold. and we'll come back in a bit, probably tomorrow, and just finish off. We'll make the mince pies with the pastry and the filo pastry. Okay, so still plenty of time to make this before Christmas, for presents or for yourself. So we'll see you shortly. This is part 2 of the mince pies. Like yesterday, showed you how to make the sweet pastry. We're also just going to make some filo pastry ones as well. But this is the exciting part. I made this yesterday. You can make this 6 months in advance. Store it somewhere cool, sterilised jar, and it will just mature and mature and get better and better. But this was made yesterday. So even the smell of it, if you can smell that there now, and if you want to just look in there, it's soaked up all the brandy, all the orange juice. It's got the nuts. It's not too sweet. The sort of cranberries give it a wee bit of tartness. But that's the exciting part. Lift your pastry out of the fridge half an hour, 20-25 minutes, maybe half an hour before. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cut out some bigger circles. This is about a 4-inch pastry cutter, and then we're just going to do sort of a star just in the circle. Just soften it up a wee bit. But if you lift it out sort of 20-25 minutes before, it should come to temperature, and it'll just be easier to work with. So I've set the oven for 200 degrees. These will probably take 20-25 minutes to cook, but they're worth it. They're worth the wait. So just roll it in. I'm not going to show you how to roll, because everybody sort of, just a wee bit of flour. Everybody should sort of be able to roll pastry. Just keep moving it about. And you want just a couple of millimeters thickness. So I don't know how many we'll get out of this, so I'll know when to cut it. But it's up to yourself. If you want sort of thick pastry, that's fine. Just go a wee bit thicker. I think just a couple of millimeters. Oh, sorry, wrong side. See how many we can get out of this. There's the it. And this is just your standard muffin tray. Just push them in. Just fold them in. And push them around the sides. Just tighten those up a wee bit. I'll just roll out this wee bit here, just so we can get another couple out of it. That'll be fine. There we go. Just another couple of them. I say the pastry's getting softer the more I roll it, so. So what we'll do now is we just put probably just a dessert spoon in each one, maybe just a wee bit more. Good heat dessert spoon should be fine. And the smell of this is fantastic, it really is. That would probably make 2 dozen mince pies at least. One more, and then we'll just put the lids on them and pop them in the oven. Oops. That would probably make more than 24. Probably 30, maybe 36 out of that. Depends how much filling you put into that. So again, pastry, just soften up a wee bit with your hands, just to make it sort of more easier to roll. Right. So we'll just do the tops now, and we'll give it a wee brush. I've got just 1 egg yolk and just a bit of milk, just to give it a nice glaze. So again, the fluted cutter, 1, 2, 3, And the star, yeah. So that's that. So again, that's, you know, probably enough there for another 10, maybe 12 if you stretch it. So just just push it down. Don't push it down too far. Actually, the star ones look better, I think. Maybe I should have done them all stars, but. And then just a very, very light brush. I say it's just an egg yolk with some milk. And I'm just going to put a wee drizzle of caster sugar on them, bake them in the oven, and then when they come out of the oven, I sort of just dust them with ice and sugar. Just a wee dust, not too much. I'll just give them a nice wee crunch. So 20, we'll check them after 10-15 minutes. Let's see what they're like. So we'll just try some of the filo ones, see how they turn out. They'll give you a different texture. Again, filos, you have to work with it really, really quickly because it dries out. What you can do is just get a clean tea towel and just put it over it. But if you work fast enough, it should be alright. So again, I'm just one sheet there. I'm going to give it a wee spray with this olive oil stuff. And the second sheet. So just cut out your circles. And I've got 5 here. And you need the spray just because it crisps up the pastry. Again, just give it a wee spray. Just push them right down in. So, I don't know what these will look like when they come out, but I know they will taste good. They'll taste as good as the traditional ones. I'd say there's at least another dozen mince pies in there, at least. So we'll just cut out a small, let me spray that wee bit there. Just a wee small. So these might all be eaten by tonight, but hopefully we'll keep a few back. There we go, there's nearly the 6 of those. And there's still plenty of time to make these before Christmas. I'll just spray that again. And they'll make great presents. Just another wee spray. Just going to tuck them in a wee bit. And again, just a wee tiny sprinkling of sugar. And we'll pop these in the oven. These probably won't take as long, maybe 15-20 minutes. So we'll come back to them in a wee bit when they're all cooked. Take them out, probably the filo ones first, and we'll give them a dustman with ice and sugar. We'll let them cool. We'll test them shortly. Right everybody, so the traditional mince pies, they've had sort of close on 25 minutes, and there we go. They look fantastic, and these other ones maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I think that these look fantastic as well. So what we're going to do now is just let them cool. You obviously couldn't eat them because that's you know, the sugar's still bubbling in there. So we're going to let them cool. Lift them out on the cooling rack now, just dust them with icing sugar while they're still a wee bit warm, and we'll get tucked into one shortly. Okay. Well folks, here they are. I think they look great. There's the wee star ones, there's just the traditional ones, and these filo ones, and if you hear, they're as crispy, and these here, you could just serve warm with a scoop of ice cream or something, you know, it'd be lovely, just as a dessert. And these ones here, lovely and crispy. So we'll crack into one and see what it's like. We'll do just give it a wee dust with icing sugar. So do this when it's warm. It sort of gives it a nice wee, it sort of holds on to it when they're still warm. It doesn't just fall off. And they, you know, they look homemade, and that's what you want. You don't want the sort of mass-produced ones. So there we go. Look inside it. It smells lovely, really. So I'm going to try a wee bit here. They're fantastic. They're sweet, but there's the peel in it. Gives it that wee sharpness, and it takes away the sweetness. So they're not too sweet. There's a wee tang in it. The pastry's still really crispy. They are, honestly, anybody can make them. Just make your mincemeat well in advance. The longer you leave it, the better. Pastry's so easy to make. The filo ones, I'll just cut in the filo one here, just to show you how crispy they are. If you hear the crunch. And I say just have this with a bowl of ice cream, served warm. I prefer that. That is a dessert. Vanilla ice cream, some custard, some homemade custard or bird's eye custard. Be fantastic. So that's the mince pies, folks. That recipe will make at least 2 dozen. They're deep and they're well packed, so try them. You've still plenty of time before Christmas, and give them away as presents or just eat them yourself. Okay folks, stay safe, and we'll get another wee video soon. Bye.